At the beginning of the show at 6:30 a.m. The world of insurance is often overlooked, and we would say it's absolutely an essential part of protecting what matters to you in the community and the society at large. Whether it is your home, your health, your car, or even your business, insurance is the safety net we need to think about. And mostly we do not until something happens to you. But here's the thing. It is more than just a backup plan. It is a powerful tool to build security, resilience, and to give you a peace of mind when you're going through your day-to-day business. So join us as we unpack the expert insight and practical use to help you navigate the world of insurance. And with me in studio is Anthony Mwangi, an expert in matters insurance. So trust me when I say this is a conversation that you definitely do not want to ignore, especially for those people who are coming up in life, the zillennials, the Gen Z and the millennials who are now starting up to own property, starting up to have families. This is a conversation you definitely want to be a part of. So 22047 is the short SMS code, as well as the hashtag on X Morning Cafe. TV47 News KE is the handle. You can also tag me as at OJ Samsons. We are also streaming live across our social media platforms and our digital platforms on YouTube and Facebook at TV47 Kenya, as well as we are also live on our website at www.tv47.digital. And as I had said, on set is Mr. Anthony Mwangi. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, Samson.
Lovely to have you this morning. Your time is appreciated.
You're welcome.
Now, we are talking about insurance, and to start us off, in a layman way of definition, insurance is having something to help you in the event of a calamity or something that is not foreseen. So, in your words as an expert, what is insurance and why is it important?
Thank you once again, and thank you to your viewers. Insurance, in a very simple way, is transferring your burden to somebody else to take care of you when you are not in a position to.
Right.
Or if the burden is too heavy for you. What that means is that you have this big project worth whatever figure of money that it is. It would mean that you need to keep an equivalent amount of money so that if anything happens, a fire, flood, earthquake, then you have enough money to be able to replace your property in case it's damaged.
Right.
So you have to have the same billion. But now insurance is saying, okay, for a small being relative amount of money we call premium, this is the money that we pay, I can take that whole burden for you. I'll be there for you when the 1 billion project is gone at a small fee, let's say 100,000 shillings. So it is a transfer of risk from the individual or the company to an insurance company. So that in the event when you need that comfort and financial support, you can find it.
All right, that's definitely a good definition. I would say I have understood it, and for anyone else who might have had questions, that is an easy way of putting it across. Now, I believe in your time in the insurance space, you've had a lot of misconceptions surrounding the matters insurance. You've had, for myself, I've had people saying that why should I pay for these premiums, like you've mentioned, and then again, when it comes to settling some of these claims, the insurance company defrauds me. So how does this misconception surrounding insurance affect decision making, especially for people who are your target audience in terms of getting them on board to insurance?
See, when I was joining the insurance industry, and you're very right, I don't know where this term came from.
Right.
And I have had time to answer this question many, many times. Insurance are fraudsters, they are thieves, they don't honor claims. I don't know exactly. And I think when one day I will retire, I'll be writing my memoirs, I would want to spend a bit of time to perhaps know exactly where this issue started. But I think that's one of the misconceptions that there is in the insurance industry, that we cannot necessarily 100% be trusted to be able to meet our part of the bargain when that need arises, when a claim arises. And I think perhaps if I take one step is to say, first of all, insurance is a very complex subject. It's actually a science. Because for you to be able to perhaps like I was saying earlier, to have these property worth $1 billion shillings. So let me use a car because I think it's much more used. Let's say $1 million shillings, and you're only paying 40,000.
Right.
And that if this car is involved in an accident or is stolen or whatever happens, I will pay you 1 million shillings. Against, let's say, 40, 45, 50,000 shillings mark, then there must be quite a bit of calculations, because it's not a figure that is just imposed. There is a very serious mechanism that is arrived at. And therefore, one of the challenges that we face in the insurance industry is that it's not a buy and take now, like I'll buy a phone or a shirt and I'll check on it. I will, for instance, ensure that the measurements are correct. In insurance, is a long term. In most of them, actually, are the shortest ones you find is annual. Now, when you're taking insurance today, for instance, for a car, a lot of changes can occur in the course of that period of 1 year. You bought your car and you wanted and intended it to use it for your own private use. Right. You bought a house, you intended it to use it as an office. Whatever it is. Then along the way you decide, I think Uber now is making sense. Why don't I take my car to Uber? And you immediately perhaps use your car for ferrying passengers. But remember, when you entered into that contract, it was supposed to be for private use, carrying your family and perhaps whatever small things that you can carry. But now you have changed the use. Now, at the tail end of that, if, for instance, then you have an accident when you are using that vehicle or that building for other purposes other than that you gave us, certainly we will not cover. For you, you will not be understanding, a passenger is the same as my own family. So what's the big deal? They are on the same Kenyan roads. But the usage has changed. So it means this Uber is on the road many, many more times than a private car. We are not telling you how to use your vehicle. That is not our space. Therefore, when you change that usage, for instance, or you give us information that when we come to verify at the point of paying a claim, then the information does not tally with what we have at the time of accident, then there will be an issue. And that is why sometimes we have that misconception. I'll give an example again. Value. You sure your car for $1 million shillings again. But depending on how you're using this vehicle, it has depreciated to such a great extent that you have, perhaps, let's say somebody has not well maintained this vehicle well. And at the time of accident, now the vehicle is worth 700,000 shillings. In your mind, you are expecting $1 million. But the car also, because we have some certain principles. I know some principles perhaps in journalism. We also have our own principles. And one of the principles of insurance is what we call indemnity, taking you back to the same position that you were before the loss. Therefore, we have those misconceptions and that's why now these days you see insurance companies are valuing our vehicles, for instance, so that we all agree, how is your car, its state of repair, its state of mechanical and everything. So those are some of the few misconceptions. Majorly, I think, because either the way it was sold, I must also perhaps take one step and say, perhaps we have not communicated good enough. We may have tried, but perhaps not good enough so that people can understand. And I think this is one of the forums that I think we need to use a lot to be able to educate people so that we avoid those misconceptions.
All right, so I would just like to remind our viewers that you can call in live to be part of this particular conversation, or you can ask your questions to our guest today, Mr. Anthony Mwangi, who is an insurance expert, where he'll be able to handle some of your burning questions. And you can call in live through 079504 5864. That number is at the bottom of your screen, and also you can WhatsApp us on 0793 267 279. Remember, our socials are also open: TV47 News KE on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, as well as TV47 Kenya on Instagram and on TikTok. And you can also tag me as at OJ Samson. So as we continue with this particular conversation, you've talked mostly about cars, but then again, I'd like to center this discussion, especially so that even young people can be able to join in. Now, in your opinion, what are some of the must-have insurance for the everyday persons, the ones that we call Mama Mboga, the boda guys, people who are, let's just say the people who make the bulk of the population, of the Kenyan population?
Fantastic question. I think one of the, or some of the key covers that one should always have is one, of course, is medical. Right. Because everybody can fall sick. Unfortunately, and I'm glad that you actually are very young station in terms of even audience and stuff like that. Unfortunately, it also the one cover that perhaps the young people, the millennials, and sometimes they think they don't need because they are healthy. They don't think that they can fall sick. But the beauty of having medical early in life is that, first of all, the premiums are also pegged on your age. If you go to most of insurance companies, we also charge now premiums on age brackets. If you are 20 and 25, perhaps 20, 30 or 30, 40, you'll find that your band of premium that you're going to pay is different from that person who is higher than you. So medical is one key cover. And if you enter early, even when you grow older, and even old for that matter, the insurance company will still be able to take care of that. And some of them can take you as old as even plus 80 because you also joined early. It can also help you in the event of an accident. So it doesn't mean because you are young you can't fall sick. Fine. So the other thing which is unfortunately also falls in the same category where you think that it's not important is savings. There is nothing as important as starting savings. I wish today I can take the clock back with the knowledge that I have. I would have wanted to start savings, a small personal pension plan, or putting some money aside. And it is still growing and it's covering me at a very early age. It is very, very critical. I think most of us keep on thinking I will retire at this age, but what are the plans? So pension is a very, very critical component of some of the covers that I would say are critical. The other thing is covering our gadgets. Right now, most of covers can be able to cover our iPhones and our Androids and all those machines that we have, our specs, our clothing, the household covers are also very, very important. Those are critical components that everybody should be able to have. There is another one we call personal accident. In the event you were injured, the medical we talked about is natural illnesses and accidents, but personal accidents only caters for in the event of an accident. An accident does not necessarily mean those that think an air crash or a car accident. Could even be you sleep on the floor of your home, of your house, or you get pricked by a nail, and perhaps the wood becomes bigger and all that. That is also a very critical cover. You are traveling with your motor vehicle or even a public service vehicle. You could be injured as you get or out of the vehicle. So those are some of the key components of insurance. Of course, if you have property, however young or older you are, whatever property that you have is also another important cover for coverages of things like theft and even fires. So you could be running a small cafe, you could be running a small workshop, or whatever it is, as long as there is some property inside there, that is a must-have insurance, because you never know when some of these perils of nature, be it theft, be it fire, be it, like now we are in the rainy season, you could be having a leaking roof and you really don't know. And all of a sudden, your property, your beautiful surface are damaged. And those are key personal covers. Of course, when it comes to businesses, that's a different whole ballgame altogether.
And is there something like being underinsured? And if so, what are the dangers to being underinsured?
Good. Yes, there is something like that. Underinsurance, it means you have understated the value that you are worth at the point of going on cover. Remember, for me, when I come, I'm only giving reference to insurance for a car because I think it creaks to a lot of people.
Right.
Otherwise, we have almost 50, 60 classes of insurance in different. I hope if time can allow, we can be able to mention some of them. And insurance is when you have a property worth $1 million and you are insured for 800, perhaps to save on premium, or not understanding fully exactly. And again, going to your first question, that is again where the whole issue of misconception comes in. Now, if you underinsure your property, remember me, I will be insuring your car for the full value, because if you have an accident, I will not tell you the bonnet, I will not compute the relational value of 800 vis-a-vis $1 million sharing so that I can, otherwise then those mathematics will be too tough. So when you understate the property that you are worth against the actual value, that is what we call underinsurance. And it's penalized when it comes to insurance. In fact, we say you become, if I use technical term, you become your own insurer for the difference. So I'll take the value that you gave us over the actual value and times the amount of loss that you have suffered. If quickly you do those mathematics, you see that it will have a correlation between what you insured and the actual value and the loss that you car. And in most instances, it will be a percentage of what you have not of insured. So if your car is worth 800 and it is you have insured it for 800, but it's worth 1 million shillings, and you suffer loss or damage worth 500,000, chances that I'll pay you something like between 300 and 350, right? But this loss was 300 because I'm also taking into account what you didn't insure. So you have to be your own insurer for what you actually didn't pay the premium for. Right? Because you only paid for 1 million, for 800, but in actual sense, you are worth 1 million. So people make that mistake because you think I'm saving on premium, who will know. To avoid all those issues, that's why you see, especially for things that we are able to now have valuation beforehand, so that we avoid those. And that has greatly improved because from day one, I will now know exactly how much you are worth. If it's things like jewelry is also insured, even separately. If it is of certain value, we then would say a jewelry valuer. So that at least at the very beginning, we know exactly how much you are worth in jewelry. Yeah, but in most of the instances, we leave it to you. You know how much you bought it for, taking into account perhaps things of wear and tear for those that can be able to wear and tear, and then we pay you the difference. For things like electronics, like phones, because of the usage over time, when it comes to paying you back or compensating you as a result of a loss, we would send you to a valuer or ask you to get 2 or so valuations, and we see what will be the replacement cost of a phone or a camera or of a similar nature, similar manner, similar model at the point that you go on loss. Remember we talked about indemnity? Yeah. You have used this phone for 3 years, for 2 years, or 1 year. Certainly it has an element of depreciation. Right. But so we will take you exactly to that point of depreciation. If it were possible, we would have bought you another phone, exactly the same way, if it was cracked at the corner. But because that is not possible, we now compensate you from a monetary point of view. So we give you cash equivalent to the worth of that phone at the point of loss. So if you don't then understand those mechanisms, or you now go to, I'm an insurance broker, and therefore our work is to advise customers on all those issues. So if you just buy insurance, that's why sometimes, yes, it's good to buy even online, but you need somebody also to guide you, because you'll go there, all those principles of insurance may not actually necessarily be put on the social medias or the online portals. Because you see, remember, on online portals, it was just quick sale. It may not be able to have all the details. So having somebody to take you, guide you, so that gives you this information, so that you are not surprised when a loss occurs.
All right.
So that's where the rubber meets the road.
Meets the road. Yeah. And I'm quite curious about something. You've mentioned about the dangers of underinsurance. Are there situations or scenarios whereby someone who was underinsured his or her own property come out without any pay from the insurance provider because of that particular thing that he did underinsuring? Now,
underinsurance would not prevent you getting compensation. What will only do is that it will be compensated less. But you will not be denied the proceeds of your cover.
Okay, I mean, like in terms of after you've done the calculation, the requisite calculations that you need to do, and then it comes out that this particular person, it comes out to
No. There is because it's a proportion. Because if you insured for, even if it's worth 1 million and you insure for 10,000 shillings. Even if you do we call it average cross. If you do the average computation, 10,000 over 1 million, you'll find that perhaps I'll pay you 500, but you'll never really come out completely without anything. The only time you may not be paid your claim if there is an element of fraud on your part. For instance, you are the one who orchestrated, let's say, the loss of your phone, or you dropped it intentionally and get to know about it, or some unexplained loss. You can't say, I missed my jewelry, without saying exactly what happened. There must, because remember, we insure, this is a contract, we insure some certain perils. So where we say, because you also have, one of the conditions again of insurance is that you must always remain like you are uninsured. When you're driving your car on the road, when you are at home, you must ensure that your doors are locked. Your premises is locked. Your safe is always under lock and key. If you just leave it open and 1 million shillings is taken away from the safe, then the policy may not be activated because you acted a little bit irresponsible in terms of ensuring that the loss will not occur.
And also, I'm also curious also on another aspect. Is there anything that insurance companies cannot insure? I've seen ridiculous cases such as singers insuring their lips, someone insuring their earlobes. In Kenya, do we have such scenarios?
Unfortunately, our market has not really developed to that extent. Remember, the principle of the other principle that we operate under in insurance is what we call pooling. And today I'll talk about, because you're talking to me for the first time about insurances. I wish we can be able to have a series so that we can tackle all the principles that are there. So there is one principle called pooling. Pooling is where now so many people bring the 20,000, your 40,000, your 1 million, we put it together so that if one of us is unfortunately, because not all of us will have a misfortune,
right.
So that the few of us that will have a misfortune, we can go to our pool and pay from that pool. Now, when it comes to some of those covers that you've talked about, lips covering, muscles and what have you, teeth, golden teeth, we have very, very few numbers. So unless then somebody who is insuring pays equivalent of perhaps what we are insuring for, then we don't have the critical mass to enable us do that. But I think with the growth now of our celebs, growth of our professionals, most of the things that now we are doing, whether it's in sports, it's now a profession, it's a job, people are appreciating it, we are likely to see growth. Because remember, insurance responds to needs of the people. There was a time, the first time the mobile phone came, we refused to insure. Because we were wondering how a phone that you carry everywhere, on the roads, anywhere, how do we cover it? We didn't have the proper mechanism and data. Today is a normal cover like any other. Terrorism, it's not something that we used to cover before. Because, we didn't know the magnitude of, now we have gone through some of those experiences. So I believe even some of those very unique, I would not necessarily call them ridiculous, I would actually call growth in some of those sectors, especially in our actors, in our sportsmen, journalists who sometimes you rely perhaps a lot on your voice to be able to call us here every morning. So I think as that industry grows more and more and we get more people and also people get, because it's also not cheap, as people also get to acquire a little bit of more disposable income. You'll see that happen. But as of now, it hasn't grown to that much. But people can be able to still get approval from Insurance Regulatory Authority to place what we don't have currently on the home soil abroad, where those covers are available.
All right, so we are living in a day and age whereby technology is so prevalent and everything right now is being done in a technological way because we know that is the future and we are already there in a technological era. So as a stakeholder in the insurance sector, how have you leveraged the use of technology to onboard more people and make it much easier for people to be able to access insurance covers and anything that they might want in terms of insurance? Yeah,
we've really grown technologically. These days, we don't issue anymore what we call motor insurance certificates on the cars. We used to give them the physical ones. Now it's digital. You actually apply, you send on your phone. The only thing is that we have not, perhaps also, the law has not changed in tandem with technology. So the third-party Motor Insurance Act, one of our laws controlling traffic, it still requires you to display it on the screen. Otherwise, we would have completely head-to-head said it on your phone and you don't have to do anything else. When a cop stops you, you can be able to show them on the phone. So yes, we have digitized our issuance of motor insurance policies because that is one of the policies that was very, very physical because you have to get something on the phone. So from head to head now you can inquire, get a quotation and onboard your car or board your policy digitally, and we send you an insurance certificate, again digitally on your phone or your mail, and you can print it on the other end. And then just to comply with the law, because it's a little bit behind. The law is always very lazy. I'm a lawyer, sorry to say that, but the law is always very lazy. But I think it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be preceded by innovations. Innovations are the ones that start, and then now law comes to see how can we be able to protect that innovation. So we have done that. Then the other thing, of course, is that most of our payments platforms now are digital. People, we no longer now have to bother people with cash and checks and what have you. Now again, people can be able to pay. head-to-head, and then those payments and reconciliations will be done via system digitally again, and you get your receipts. You can get your quotations now. We have portals and apps that also now talk to that space. We have even gone ahead. There are some companies that basically now are rewarding customers for the use of the wearable devices that we have in terms of, fitness and health and everything else. And it sends messages in our market now. And sends messages, and to come to renew, you have points, or you can be able to redeem some points in some establishments. So I think the growth of digital transformation in our industry is there. Obviously, I think we are not the fastest, and we are not perhaps the first. We may be struggling a little bit because, again, also most of our customers are also not there necessarily. But I think we are on a good course. I think now we are not very embarrassed to say that we have been. Of course, if you look at perhaps where banks are, they can be able to dispense money from out of walls in terms of ATMs. I think they are ahead of us. I'm looking forward to whereby perhaps we can be able to sell some of these covers, like funeral covers and personal accident covers. On the supermarkets, you go and take a pack, you rub and you put it on your phone, and cover is activated. I'm looking forward to such sort of developments, but I think we're on course. And then relying on the digital, the Gen Zs and the millennials to help us innovate in that space.
And are you trying to sell this idea to them so that they can be able?
Yes, we are working with very, 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 very many. They are sandboxes, what we call the sandboxes. These are innovation hubs, especially even at the high level of Insurance Regulatory Authority. There are sandboxes there where a lot of innovative ideas basically are deposited, and they are taken through, and those innovative innovative ideas. So that is also happening. And companies also, I know quite a number of companies that are actually having their own sandboxes where they basically look at different ideas and try and innovate and come up with different innovative thoughts on how we can be able to digitize that. So we are working a lot. Perhaps the only area that I think we can do better is that we are not working as well with our institutions of higher learning, especially the technical universities. And I think that is a missing link between our market and our learning institutions. I wish I could be able to see. I wish that information is being given to us through collaborative, efforts between market and our training institutions. I think we'll have a much better approach to it, because then we can be able to incubate that for a period of time and see the. Now it depends on the companies that have resources to be able to innovate those ideas. But yes, we are working with the teams. The numbers are not necessarily as big as we would want, but definitely I don't think this time next year or 2 years, 3 years from now, we will be at the same space again.
All right, 22047 is the short SMS code where you can talk to us by giving us your thoughts in regards to this particular discussion on matters of importance of insurance. The hashtag on X is Morning Cafe. TV47 News KE is the handle. You can also tag me as at OJ Samsons. Remember, if you cannot reach us on terrestrial, we are also streaming live on our digital platforms on YouTube and Facebook at TV47 Kenya. Also live on our website at www.tv47.digital. Mr. Anthony, now, the year 2020 taught us a lot of things. They taught us that a pilot can be jobless, but a boda guy can have a job. Those are some of the lessons we picked.
Yes.
Now, the coronavirus pandemic, when it came and hit and sent shockwaves in the world, I'm sure the insurance sector also felt the shake. So how has global pandemics and other trends before, even something that we foresee in future, dictate how policies are changed to suit such situations?
Yes, I think that you are right, and I think like every other industry, we were also caught almost completely unaware of what happened. I think the last pandemic that occurred and that we really were not there, most of us, was I think 2018, or thereabouts, when I think it was certain pandemic, I think it's smallpox or something, that basically hit the world. So we haven't had that experience. I wouldn't want to talk from a point necessarily very, very of authority and say how well we are prepared for another. But I think our minds now are a little bit more attuned. One, our businesses as an industry have grown to a level where they can also be able to now absorb a few shocks. I can tell you, with very few exceptions, and those are very, very few exceptions, most of the insurance companies actually made the corona cases, claims, most of the insurance companies. We had people, companies had resources, and so the build-up of resources over a period of time. The pooling I was talking about, the pool is now slightly bigger than it could have been several years ago. So we are able now to respond. The other thing now, which is very, very critical, is also again what we have just talked in the previous discussion on digital, that we are in with the technological era. We now are able to focus better. We are also now in the information highway as well. We are able to see what is happening globally. Had we perhaps been on the same tune when it started happening in China, and we start discussing here early enough, chances are that we will not even have been caught at all. Because you can see the preventative measures that African countries and Kenya for that matter did in terms of putting barakoas and what have you, all those things that we did, washing our hands. I think if we were more aligned and attuned and our antenna a little bit high, we would have even been able to handle that issue earlier. So I would say the insurance companies now is more attuned, and I think we are alert. In terms of, we now have, you look at a number of insurance companies now have technical people, even if not necessarily fully research, but we now have people who are able to look ahead and see what is a trend. What is the information going around in the world? Where are we at? Where is terrorism? Where is where? So we now have more data to be able to deal with. Look at the issues of climatic change. Most of because it's really affecting us, and I hope we can be able to discuss that, because climatic change and environmental issues that are happening globally are also happening in our own countries. Issues of flood, and huge torrential rains that are pouring on our lands and eventually spill over to our factories, damaging and causing huge damages, destruction. It may be rain, it also may be drought. So we now are able to predict much better because of the technological advancements that the insurance companies is adopting. So we are now not relying on just getting information post when it has happened. Right. I think now we are much more predictable. But I think much more information and much more technological advancement and resources need to be put in the technological space so that we are able to anticipate better, because it is the information that is helpful. For instance, do these pandemics come after a period of 20 years, 50 years, 30 years? So that we anticipate. We are told perhaps this one was worse than all the other ones perhaps combined. So what is it that we can be able to learn from it and then anticipate better, put even more resources in such situations, or even prevent them. So I think not only just in terms of health, but even in terms of environment, we are now, most of our companies are part and parcel of the global community and village, where we are now more keen on how we are handling our environment and our world in terms of environment, to avoid some of those things emanate from how we are also treating global issues and environmental issues. They come back to hit on us.
Yeah. So coming back to the ordinary person, so how does one choose the right policy for them? What factors should one consider when selecting an insurance plan? One is that you must be very clear exactly what you are looking for. If you come again, if I use the again, or use it this time, let's say, let me use a house. If you say I have a house in a certain estate of the country, I want you to insure it is worth 4 million shillings, without specifying exactly what you use the vehicle, the house for, or a car for, or any other building for, then we could have a problem. So you must be very, very clear. That's one of the things that you must be very, very clear. But because you may not know all the answers as to what you expect, it is also good to go through somebody who understands this business. I say it is a science. You don't treat science casually. You don't feel the stomach is paining and you always think perhaps I'm having a normal stomach, and you go for
the usual drugs. Perhaps it could be a growth that has started. So you need a professional to be able to understand. And that is why now the intermediaries like ourselves, brokers, and other people in that space are there to be able to advise you. Because then I will ask you the right questions. What do you use this building for? How is it constructed? On what is it on a place where a path of
riparian
land? Is it in a place that floods? All those are questions that most likely you may not in our normal way, because we are all ignorant when it is not our space. So you may be a professor, you may be whatever, but insurance may be not necessarily your first. So you need now somebody who has been there before, who understands those questions and ask, what is this car for? Do you intend to change the use? Even if you change, make sure that you come back to me so that we can change your cover. All those issues. So it is very, very important then that you get the right questions. You know when to change. We are not necessarily telling you how to do your business, but we are telling you the mitigation issues that you need to do. So the choice of whatever plan that you need, first of all, it depends on what is it that you want to achieve, what is the goal. For instance, if it's life cover, and this is where a lot of people have gone wrong, what exactly do you want to do with this plan? Do you want it to educate your children when they go to school, when they go to university? When you retire, you can, or even the event that perhaps you are not there. Those answers, all of them have completely different plans, right? Because if all what you care is that right now I have enough money, I can be able to educate my children. But in the event, perhaps, I'm not there, assuming I'm a professional. Professional in terms of, let's say I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer. So I do consultancy. If I'm in the demise of somebody, or I'm injured, I'm not able to go back to work, would my children be able to do that? So I'll have a plan that then you talk to when I am not there. If I am worried about, I don't have necessarily all the money, I don't know the future, then I put this money slowly by slowly so that I know. So all these are answers to what kind of a plan then you need to come up to. The other critical thing, obviously, is that who are you covering this property with? We said insurance is medium to long term. A year is also too long to anticipate what will happen 365 days from now. Now, if you just throw a coin and say it turns heads or tails, whichever company is there is where I'll go to, you need to understand a little bit of that particular company. What is history? How long have they been in this business? Who are the owners? What is their financial? How well have they handled previous claims? So these are critical information because it's a market. For instance, when we go buying potatoes or any other produce from the farm, there are some that are organically grown. There are some that we are told they are even injected some genetically modified ones. Right. So you just go by without necessarily asking those questions. You don't know then where you fall to. So insurance is no different. It's no different. You meet somebody because, and I'm not trying to underrate because I've gotten a lot of support from my own friends, but if you just meet on the streets because we schooled with you 25 years ago, and I now tell you I run an insurance business and then go and insure my house, without now knowing, do I understand that area? Insurance is divided into two major divisions, one called general, the other one life. Sometimes the people who handle general may not necessarily fully understand life or vice versa. This person then therefore that you are engaging to be able to go and get your plan for insurance, how well do you know that they are well trained in this particular area that you have given them? You don't give your case to any doctor. Some are specialized in kidneys. They are not the best when it comes to removing your teeth. Right. They will mess you up. Don't treat insurance differently than you would treat your doctor, who treat your lawyer. There are lawyers like ourselves and others who are specialized in some certain areas. So you don't just choose any, and therefore, and I think that's a mistake, again, bringing misconception. And then you start, and then when something happens, you realize there were very serious gaps that arose that perhaps had you had the right person to advise you, then you don't have a problem. I currently am privileged to chair an association called Association of Insurance Brokers of Kenya. I'm the national chairman of Association of Insurance Brokers of Kenya. We have almost 200 members and all spread across the nation. These are people that one can always go to. When we vet them, we know they're all professionals. And those who are not, we let them fall off. And these are people, therefore, we know that if you walk into any of their organizations, then you can be able to get good advice. The other thing is, in the event that then a broker, for instance, misadvises you, we have what we call professional indemnity cover. That is a requirement of the law, that we must be able to have one to be able to be registered annually. And therefore, you are in very, very safe hands, and nobody would want to jeopardize with a professional indemnity cover because it's an expensive one to have. So there are many, many, many ways and reasons and steps and processes that one would need to check to ensure that they have the right plan, the right cover for what you need. But it is important that you also, and let me mention because it's very critical, you must not withhold any information. If you're building, you have a small cafe that you sell coffee, and there is fire there, and it's your residential house, please tell us. Don't just say, I live in this suburb, it's my home. Yes, that's okay. But don't fail to mention, because that is a completely different, we will not tell you close the cafe, because that is not again our space, but we will now cost it properly. So that now if any fire comes from your cafe and burns the rest of the house, we will not have issues with you, because I'll have asked you several questions. Do you have a fire extinguisher? Or is there a wall perhaps that separates the fire? All those questions. And then once I'm fully satisfied, and if the insurance company feels that it is a little bit overly risky, they will decline and say, sorry, we are not able to cover it, but don't withhold any information. If you use your vehicle intermittently, in the morning as you go, hope you think I can be able to share some fuel cost with people, and therefore I will charge, or in the evening or whatever the case, let us know. Then we cost it properly. And when we tell you the right cover that you need to have, so that should there be then a problem, you will not have the stories that we hear of. Yeah.
All right. So I'm being informed that we are quickly running out of time. But
time always runs so fast in studio. I don't know why, even before we start.
Right. So what are some of the challenges that the insurance sector majorly faces?
I think one of the major one, first of all, I think is we have a huge problem of fraud. That is a big, big problem. What you see perhaps being said of NHIF, SHA, SHIV, in terms of perhaps inflated bills, also affect insurance companies. There is a lot of collusion between ourselves and perhaps even our clientele and hospitals and stuff like that. So I think that may not necessarily be widespread, but one fraud case is too many because it can distort a whole market. Remember, I said as we costing our premiums, we cost it based that naturally people will fall sick naturally. So when there is a bit of inducement, or you go to hospital, then you want to be tested, or no manner of things that are not necessarily provided for if the policy does not allow, then we're going to do that. The other thing that which is self-inflicted, which is unfortunate, is that because of the competition, we are doing what we call a lot of undercutting. We are charging less than the actual price that we need to for a car insurance. Of course, I'm a client advocate because that is the work that I do. But we are seeing a lot of undercutting in terms of very, very low, especially when it comes to big businesses like tenders, because of competition. There are only so few parastatals, and everybody wants them because they pay well. So as a result of that, then because of price wars, then that issue brings down or becomes a challenge in the insurance industry. So we are don't have enough money in the pool, and therefore some insurance companies that are not well structured, you may find that they don't have enough money in the pool to be able to pay quickly when the claim arises. The other thing, of course, is that we are seeing less and less disposable income in terms of people not having enough to be able perhaps to spend on insurance, or perhaps perception about it, and therefore insurance becomes not one of the things that are in the box to tick box of insurance. The other thing, of course, is that there is little, or not little, there is perhaps not enough information of what insurance is all about. I'm an advocate could we perhaps introduce some of these issues in schools so that people understand from a very early stage what insurance is all about. Just like money. A kid starts learning the value of a shilling when he goes with a 50 cents to buy a sweet that is a bob, and he's told, no, add another. And then he's able now to know the difference between our shilling and 2 shillings in terms of value. Could we perhaps then be able to introduce insurance in schools as a subject? Because everybody consumes insurance, whether you work in the insurance industry like myself or even as a consumer. Because like I said, you need medical, you need personal accident, you need pension. Perhaps when you grow up and become rich, you also require cover for your property. But then are you insuring from a point of knowledge? And therefore, if we do all these things, most likely you realize that, so there are quite a number of challenges that are there, but I think those are the ones that come quickly to mind. Yeah.
Right, I'm being hurried out of the studio, but of course this is a conversation that we can always continue on our social media platforms. It's something that we should be talking about every day. Like you've mentioned, there is no age that someone should be introduced to this. People should start learning about insurance as early as PP1 or PP2, yeah, in whichever way that you can teach the children to be able to understand some of these things, because they definitely and greatly affect them in the adulthood, especially for those of us who underwent the 844 system. There are things that we've learned, if not in college, we've learned after. Things like even filing of tax returns, some things that those are the types of the kind of information that every learner should be able to have and grow with. That is our time, but just in a couple of seconds, what would be a final advice to people in matters insurance cover and insurance uptake?
Insurance is not something that we should be able to gamble with. I think insurance is for everybody. It protects our property. After working so hard and accumulating our wealth and everything else, there is something that is so critical that nobody can be able to value, called peace of mind. And I think you mentioned when you're starting. And therefore, when you insure, what basically then happens is that you have that peace of mind and increases our value of life as we move on. The fact that I know that my car, my house, my property has cover, that when I hear, God forbid, there is fires in a certain part of the country, I am safe. That even if I meet a thief on the road with a gun and he says, can you bring the car keys? I know I can release the car keys without a worry, because I know I have some security that will get my car back. But if you know I have lost it and that's the end of it, there's a very likelihood, in a split of a second, that resistance can cost you a life. So insurance is essentially I would say a matter of life, because we require it for our survival. It secures our property. It helps the future generations, because when we save today, then it means even the future generation that will come will find somewhere to be able to pick from, especially with life insurance covers. So insurance should actually, that's why I'm advocating, can we start this conversation early enough, even from school times, especially savings. Why are we not having a culture of saving? Because people are coming too late to understand pension. And a young man, 25, 26, he thinks, I'm starting late and you're telling me to put, but had he known from primary school, he would have put his first shilling of his salary, day one. And you can imagine by the time he's 40, most likely he'll be looking at retirement.
All right, that's a good place to leave it at. Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony Mwangi. Your time is appreciated, and it was lovely having you here in studio to talk about matters insurance. And from us here at TV47, that marks the end of Morning Cafe. That was quite an interesting conversation. Let's continue that particular conversation on our socials at TV47 News KE on X, TV47 Kenya on Facebook, TV47 KE on Instagram, as well as on TikTok. And also you can find much more of our content on our website at www.tv47.digital. We definitely have more time to speak with Mr. Anthony Mwangi in other spaces and other forums to be able to be enlightened fully on this particular issue. That's it from us. My name is Samson Jura. Do have yourself a lovely Monday and a lovely start of your week. Good morning.
Thank you.
Zambe, beginner. Oh Zambe, bam beginner. Oh Zambe, beginner. Oza,